Let me know if you can hear me. That is important. Greetings, one and all sci-fi protector beings, and all just people chilling out, not protector beings. You know what I'm trying to say. Well, as the text says, I hit hard. Oh dear. Oh dear, many feels. Many feels. Welcome, 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 everybody. So yes, we are doing, as you guys know, Stuart is real-lifing today. He's on a convention this weekend, and he is chock-a-blocked with other real-life things. So this is part one of a two-part first reaction. My first reaction right now, Stuart's first reaction later today, and then Monday will be our full breakdown, shot-by-shot review. As always, guys, these sorts of reviews will only go as long as you guys are in the chat, talking, integrating the conversation, and super chatting your thoughts, comments, and questions. We'll go for an hour. If there's not a lot of interest, we'll have 2 hours. If there's loads of interest, you guys know these absolutely fund the channel. So any and all super chats make a humongous difference. If you want to really make a big point, and I actually love to see and hear your big points, then PayPal your review. And in fairness, this is the season finale. So if you want to PayPal $5 and just give your full review of the episode, I can read some out live today. And PayPal goes far more help to the show than a super chat. So if you can, please do. There is a goal as well. If we can get 10 $5 in half an hour, you get a high five. That's a promise. And poll as well. One thing this episode, the last episode of season 3. Loved it, liked it okay, and did not like it. Very interested to hear you guys' thoughts. Okay, I'm going to start sharing this on the internets. All right. Okay, so I'm talk amongst yourselves. Let us know in the chat. 35 of you here. That's an ad. All right. Okay. Trekyards. I will into the season. Arrange new words and on the onto the various social medias. Episode of Strange New World Season 3. Big stuff. Yeah. Boy, really hard one to not spoil in the thumbnail, I will say. It's like you've got to show something interesting, but all the stuff is like, well, it's about this, or it's about that. Well, yeah. Oh, I didn't care the link over. That's annoying. Set the link again. So yes, what did you all think of the episode? Did you love it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was an appalling piece of nonsense? Do you think it was the best Trek episode ever? Did you think the twist was good? Did you think there was no twist? Etc. So one of me got a vamp. As I do things. All right, that is all shared. All right, so we've got Olivia with 2 daughters. Sam, yes. Hello. Hello there. And Mark Lawrence, member for 67 months, keeping the flame going. Pike Shaw had great hair in his old age. Yes. Yes. Very much so. Matthew, hi Trek friends. Yes, who is with us? We've got Russell. Hi Russell. Lux hello. Neil, hello. Joseph, hello. Lots of Joseph. Trekanaut, Aussie. Neil again. Mark Lords, Stanley's, ETR, Triad, Terence. Lie, hello Lie. Tobias, hello Tobias. And Matthew as well. Lesser Logic as well. Lots of you, 39 of you. So yeah, vote in the poll. Vote in the poll. Alright, so where do we begin? Do we go into full spoilers? Do you want to spoiler free? Try to get into it. I want to know what you guys think. Super your thoughts. Oh, I should probably get the PayPal up, shouldn't I? Because though I need to make sure I keep. Yes, indeed. Thanks so much. Mark Lawrence, $10. Keep on trekking. Yes, we will. That is obviously tremendous. Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah, Terence right in the score. Okay. Don't need headphones because it's just me. Alright, what did I think of this episode? Probably one of you watching. Gosh. I've not even done my review of Stuart yet because he's not been available, so my actual first time talking about it, my god. Okay. Let's do some quick fire interaction, right? Simple answers. So I'm gonna give my I'm gonna have a question. You're all gonna give your comment reaction, and I'm gonna give my version, okay? But Olivia jumps in. We got Sam! Sam Cook finally in this episode. Yes, he was. Moustache and all. Very nicely done. Well done. Okay. Without complexity of argument, did you enjoy this episode overall, yes or no? Spam the chat right now. So my therefore thoughts on that. Did I enjoy the episode, yes or no? Yes. Is that enough information? No. Okay. It's an episode that is confusing. Because it's not nostalgia bait from previous things. Season 1 being the Bounce Terror 2, Electric Boogaloo, and season 2 being the Gorn fight. Gorn. Yeah, great guys. Put in the comments. I really did want them to follow up on the Vasic. Is that the baddie's name? I wanted that follow up. Am I happy we got this season some? Okay. So that was my first question. Would you like it? Yes or no? I'll read the comments. So no. Oh, Dad's here. Stephen Cockings. No. Big fat no. Dear me. No. Yes. Meh. Yes. No. Too much budget. It was cluttered. Who in the chat, if I say to you, it felt a bit like a fan film at times. And again, interaction, guys. So, do you guys know what I mean? Now, I write a lot of fan films, so I know what I mean when I say that. It felt to me, in some certain scenes, that they were creating larger-than-life conceptual scenarios, but not having the time or budget or effects to back that up. Mostly in the middle. Because in a fan film, you can only do so much. So, and therefore, you can talk about bigger themes, but you can't actually show them because you time or budget. So the middle, where they're like, oh, this, that these aliens are going to galaxy-wide come in and cause chaos, and yet only be on this, only mention on the sky planet. It's like, well, yeah, but if these demons can also travel between planets in subspace, there'll be a galaxy threat, which is far more serious, and therefore you should warn Starfleet, because one alien gets loose and he can take over bodies and sea mines and go through force fields. So they're talking about just this insanely, amazingly, powerfully big scale problem, but it feels so small, right? It's like introducing the Species 8472 and then having them fought and defeated 3 episodes, a week, a season later, the same season, I mean. And some silly way. It doesn't quite have the oomph, right? So fan filming in that regard, that they tried to go big, but it didn't feel cheap. but they, you know, they did a good visual for the end, right? Fine, good stuff. Look pretty, but a lot of cheap stuff happening as well, right? So that's why I say fan film, and the pace is so broken. So that's the next question. Per fan films, wonderfully people are agreeing with me on that as well. Did you think the pace was kind of broken or messed up or rubbish? And again, super chat your thoughts or PayPal your longer thoughts, and I'll throw it in. Pacing. Do you think the pacing was broken? Because first watch, it's so fascinating. It's super slow, then fast, then slow, then fast, then slow, then really slow, and then really fast, then done. Second time, it's an amazing whiplash of these character-based long scenes, these incredibly quick science scenes that all amounted to just, here's one bit of information, and then a character's going to take all of the guesswork and guess correctly for everything, and she's right, or they're right, and then they move forward. It's like, what? Okay. These giant leaps and a few leaps in logic. And then back to the slow pace again, and it did that repeatedly. Like we didn't really need the scene in the like the planetoid when they're chillingly walking around. I didn't really need that. It was cool, but pace wise it was so slow. They could have done something quicker and had more time for other stuff, potentially. So I referred to fan films. I said the quality of the writing that Kurtzman puts forward does not even hit of a fan film are less a lot of degrees. Matthew comments back the story, the acting. Oh yes, the evil good stuff was not believable. Hypno, yes, except the fan film, poorly written with big budget. Yeah. When the evil good god guy had his speech, there were approximately 24 people listening. It looked really silly and somehow reminded me of... Yeah, it was a little bit Stargate. Yeah, it was a little bit. Especially the voice. But John Ford Jr. has come in with an insane super chat, which makes the entire live worth it, so thank you. And not that I'm saying you have to, John, but if you didn't do anything after this, go on the PayPal, trekyards@hotmail.com, because YouTube just took 30% of that, which is, you know, thank you for everything everyone gives. But you're welcome to do that, and we get 100%. Just saying, because that is absolutely outstanding. You had a wonderful comment. Let's see what you said. So John, $100. Thank you. Whole life worth it. Did not care for it. Patel becoming a godlike being was not a satisfying resolution to Vesda. That's what they call it, storyline. Rationale for her abilities was not convincing. Some good character moments, but overall not a strong enough season finale. I would have preferred a cliffhanger. Yeah, it was too much story for a one-parter, but yet they threw a lot of stuff in other episodes to kind of lead in. Matthew, indeed. Plus, you lose 30% off the top, then at the end of the month you get taxed on the entire month. So you get double percentaged. So that's why we say super chats, PayPal actually makes a huge difference. So, you know, put 10 in, which you get like $9.50, not 6. But thank you for everybody, of course, makes all the difference. You guys are amazing. Okay, who wished, again, hands up in the air, throw in the comments, who wished this was a two-parter? If it was a two-parter, where would it have two-parted? Because there's too much potentially interesting story for a one-parter. Could have been stretched over two. Okay, where would a two-parter... There's not a short episode. Two-parter. Okay, so I guess the first part would have been... Okay, the first part would have been Patel, which is 20 minutes in exactly. Her revealing she's like my head, which is revealed to be the statue. So you end the cliffhanger with her being injured. Second part would start with her being revealed, or you wouldn't reveal that early. Some of the version of the scene where she's potentially the thing, the statue, and then following. So that's the obvious two-parter, which does kind of feel like 2 episodes. That's all the setup and all the payoff. That is kind of logical. Where's the captain, Chris? He is preparing for a convention where he is helping to be a booth helper and standalone person to kind of help. So he is real lifing. But he'll still be doing his first reaction tonight in the evening, and then I will do. I will do the full review on the Monday. On Monday. You wish for a better episode, I do. 2 parts would not have helped me. It was just too many numbo jumbo. See, the thing is, if there's a 2-parter, of course, they could have had more logical time to explore the plot pieces. Why she got powers? Like, why, etc. would have helped. Hypno, not for 2-parter, but he thinks it should be other or more about her abilities in other episodes. Yeah, that's okay. Been moving all over the place here, but yes, that's obviously where you guys create the conversation. If it had been, so they made a whole giant point about her being fine enough and being an admiral, will be an admiral working for Starfleet, corps of lawyers. If they knew that was not going to go anywhere, I understand the vague logic of that being necessary to double bluff the audience. But if you know that you're going to end the character's journey with superpowers, absolute literal superpowers, a more logical solution would have been to foreshadow her powers more than just animalistic, she's probably a Gorn scene, which is not enough for that. Something, or if you want to be very technical, very whatever, show her able to influence someone's mind, which would be the equivalent of the Inner Light scene, right? Because she just has powers out of the blue. It's not so good. Not so good. It makes you wonder if they had to refilm anything, or if they changed the ending, or if they didn't think they were getting a season 4 or 5 and they swapped things and reswapped them. Is that slightly convoluted vibe? Mark Lawrence argues the split would have been when the 2 ships fire beams to open the portal. You say that, Mark, but if that was the split, then first of all you would have had was the is the portal going to blow up or not moment, and that is a good 32 minutes of the episode, right? Because if you split it there, all you'd have left is the Inner Light sequence in the resolution for 40 minutes, and there's no epilogue really to speak of. So that would have kept most of the plot in the first episode, and then very little plot in the second episode. If we've split it earlier, we've had a bit more of a half and half. That's why the other cliffhanger I suggest. I see what you mean, but it would have been not enough story to carry over. It would add in more things, but the slowness of the Inner Light scene was already slow enough, right? You didn't need that to be any longer in particular. Tobias, the Vesda are completely uninteresting as villains. Okay, right, in the chat right now, were the Vesda interesting villains, yes or no? Quickfire, yes or no? Oh, and thanks for my loves. I mean, conceptually they're interesting, and certainly from the last episode they were interesting, but when you diminish them to basically Marvel villains, just flying demons that... Why didn't they try and possess the 2 people in the room? Or Pike, at least. That would be an interesting scene. Don't know. Maybe a real Inner Light for Pike, and that is twist the audience, that then the final. Yeah, so I would have been fine potentially if you were doing a 2-parter to make the Inner Light part more substantial. Then either undo it or twist it was actually real kind of thing. Could be interesting. Like, I definitely wish they did more than just the 1 room or 2 rooms. You know, could have done with a bit more. I get obviously the logic behind that, but it does. It leaves you a bit unfulfilled for a long sequence compared to what it could be, right? Sasaguru 2000, thank you for 2 5s. Absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much. Let's read them back to back. So the whole ley line nonsense they introduced is an instant 3-point deduction for me. They say unstable wormhole, just unstable wormhole, plus more eye stabbing. Yes, eye stabbing was dramatic. Also, if the portal opened for Mbenga because fate shenanigans, it should have done the same for Batel. They don't need the phaser shenanigans. Yeah, it's tricky because if you add fate into it, then you sort of go against other plots from other Treks. Anyway, you know, fate is stopping them from going through the portal. You're correct, but fate isn't there just to let things happen. It's just the what will happen versus it's because you know the outcome, not how you got there, so you can get there via whatever means reality dictates, etc. So yeah, that's the problem. They introduce a lot of techno bullshit that just sounds bigger than it is, and especially it wasn't shown in any meaningful way. You know, a ley line, so there's an interdimensional line that happens to be exactly where the Enterprise was, wherever the hell it was. Although only 11 hours from the planets, they're really, really close to this non-Federation world, which harbours Orions and people don't like them, so they're really close. Wow, what a twist. And an exact ley line, which you assume would be not very wide. And then it used that to beam through via the medical transporter somehow without being caught. And by doing that, yeah, hold on. So were they trying to tell us that the creature rematerialized himself with the medical transporter and then did like a magic power, went into subspace himself and transported himself dozens of light years, whatever? Or are they saying he beamed himself there through it, in which case you've now set a precedent that you can now do that massively? They already said you could it beamed itself from inside the pattern buff, which is obviously absolutely mad. But was it saying that he beamed himself? Because that felt like a giant plot hole until it wasn't, right? The idea that he got across the quadrant, though not actually very far away, only 11 light years, or 11 hours at full warp, which is not far. That's really freaking close. That's basically like the nearest planet, which is just silly as well. Let's have a look. Warp field, warp speed. Because I don't know the TNG versus TOS scale. Okay, old scale. Let's look at this. Old scale. That is not useful. Let's do this. Okay, so let's have a look. So 11 hours. 11 hours, warp 1. 11 hours to the nearest star. Okay, so the nearest star, which is 5 light years at TNG warp, is still going to be over 11 hours. So they're only like 2 or 3 light years away max, which is the nearest. They just don't care about that stuff. It's so frustrating. Oi. Yes, definitely reminiscent par rates, for sure, but less interesting and less well done. Stanley's Patel wasn't on the planet in the first time, so when when did the angel get in her? Ah, Stanley's. Never did. She always was. There was no cause. She always was. She was born the angel. She died the angel already, because we saw her die. And then she reformed again. So we've seen her death and her start. Because it's non-temporal. So we saw that, yeah. So her life is cyclical. That's crazy. Which is bad. They're kind of mad. You're born and you die in the same, like, 2-3 minutes. Isn't as the statue. Crazy. Oh yeah, the phasers fell apart when the most efficient form of power is the matter antimatter warfare. Yeah, phasers. Okay, who in the chat genuinely believes that phasers are 50% the power of the sun? Seems a bit of a nonsensical. So the phasers are that powerful, and yeah, surely a matter-antimatter reaction would be far, like, a warp core is far more powerful than a phaser beam. So warp core is more powerful than the sun? It's the sun. The power of the sun. Okay, how much power? This is not at all. Okay, this is obviously not scientific, and it's obviously fiction within fiction. But the Star Trek technical manual. Oh no, hold on. The Galaxy class is 12.75 terawatts. And a sun's output is 10 to the power 26 watts. Right. I'm going to see which is bigger, because I don't know what it means. Which number is bigger? Or 12.75 terawatts. First number is much larger. Okay, so first number was the sun. Bigger is they don't know what they're doing, do they? All right, what are people saying? Threefold path, £5. Thanks so much. It felt about as satisfying as the end of Picard season 1. The villains are about as interesting. Yeah, disagree, because we like all the characters. The music's good. The sets are okay, and no one died from Legacy, which is therefore disappointing. And remember, guys, there was no throwing a football core exploding. Whatever the hell that was. So I think this is much better, because that killed Picard for no reason, and it was terrible. And also the copy and paste fleet. No, I think that was much worse. But also, no, it was just much worse. Stanley's are the ley lines not just my CL network. I mean, they could have said that, but Spore Drive Tech is classified. But that would have been a fair clarification. Sasaguru again, €5. Thanks so much. Speaking of phasers, have we ever had an in-show statement about the power of phaser before? I feel like yes. No, I feel like we have, be it in Voyager or TNG or something more specific. Because in NX-01 era, they can phase cannon with an overload the side of a mountain. It's obviously quite a lot more advanced, but not a ton more. Because if the power of one phaser blast is half that of the sun in Stranger Worlds, then by Enterprise D era, it would be twice the power of a sun. So firing on a planet's surface, it can melt the power of 2 suns. And photon torpedoes, I don't think, are the power of the sun, and photons are more powerful than phasers. End of discussion. Are torpedoes more power than the nuclear reaction of a sun? And they invented these rules, right? These are not us saying that. This is them saying it. Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. Inky, I think my problem is I've just tuned out of this season. I think it's been really bad. This episode was okay, I suppose, but I didn't know and didn't care what was going on. I mean, less great things I'll agree with. And you all did say it'd be the best season. That was the guess from the audience. But at least we had some setups and payoffs, which is not always the case. There we go. Sorry about that. There you go. Although now you're much, much lower. Well, actually, I might be a bit too. Can I do? I'll just do slayer a bit too. No, I don't. Okay. Oh well, I'll do that. That's okay. That's okay. Right. Back to oh, don't do that. Let's see. Unfortunately, some baffling directional choices also. When the phaser hit the portal, the temple folk is literally unfazed, not even looking at it. Really? That man is close to life. Yes, that would be embarrassing if that is true. Because, you know, giant laser beams from the sky, and they're currently in a, you know, God has come to town situation. So they'd be quite alerted to things. Let's relook at that. Because I can believe it, and that's a bit silly. Okay, so giant phaser beams. Okay, so giant sky beam.
On target. Hold ships.
The nursing
rotation locked.
And space phases.
Fire.
Oh no. Some guys on the right turned after half a second. After a second. Well, the guys on the left are still praying, so some of them knew, some of them didn't care. Weird. And let's have a look. Russell, phasers can never do that. A Galaxy class could generate about 0 the power of the sun. Russell, was that said in an episode? Because if that was said in an episode, they've just done another big canon mistake. And that is a bit silly. The reason Patel became a sentinel makes zero sense. Horrible writing as usual. It's not their strongest, no. The thing is, guys, we've seen Discovery Season 1 and a lot of 2, right? So we've seen really, really bad writing. That's the problem. The bar is so much lower, as Bill mentioned, because Season 1. Because the characters are good, the music's good, the acting's good. But we've seen what's worse, right? So it's, you know... But yeah, compared to original Trek, it's not, you know, not great. And certainly if you put this, I mean, if you watch this side by side to a TOS episode, you'd be like, oh, I mean, the maturity of a TOS episode is, you know, a lot. Maybe not as fancy looking, but I don't need that. Right, how's it all going in the chat? Oh, yeah, maybe threefold, they all stare their eyes out. Fair. They'd certainly hear a giant and feel it, and maybe heat. But that's all fair. How do phasers not compared to phone torpedo? We have specs for them. What do you mean? Phone torpedoes are far more powerful. Phasers are beam, focus energy. They're for slicing. Torpedoes can do a lot more damage per whatever. Even if a phaser could be used as a carrier for the energy from a warp core, yeah, I mean, that would be more interesting for sure. And it's funny because in TNG you just have like a phased particle beam, right? That wouldn't need to be a phaser. It would be far more interesting and engaging. Actually, the more I think about it, the worse it becomes. It was nonsense. The whole season has been a gimmick. Yeah, it falls apart when you focus on it. It's always said about, seasons 1 and 2 of Discovery and such, beyond just the obvious stuff. It's just, they are problematic seasons. But they're fun still, right? Yeah, PASH. Hi, welcome. Yeah, I thought they were going to go more direct with the idea of the Great Barrier than the superpowers, because that was felt like a very literal reference, and that would certainly be more interesting if those guys, the guys that, whatever those guys are, people that are from the Great Barrier, I don't know, they could invent something fun if those people have the power to reform matter and stop them. Would be interesting. I feel like this is a RTD Trek fanfic. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more fantasy feeling, a lot more ungrounded, if that makes sense. It had certainly an oddity. That's the thing. They set up a lot of this stuff already, great, but not in the degree that they were here. For example, hey Johnny, good to see you. For example, at the end, they're in this prison, and the guy's just like, bam, destroys the statue, which instantly releases all the aliens. The aliens were all in orbs, so I guess all the orbs shatter at the same time. They all come out, and then she just goes, bam, and they all get sucked back in, but not to orbs. And he gets sucked in as well with zero effort of any kind. It's very I mean, can you imagine a Marvel film if you just had, oh gosh, what an example would be, just someone being like, and now you die, dead. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess you died. Right, okay, fair enough. It's mostly that there's not enough there to kind of get excited about and to be enthused. But it's because it's different second watch. First watch is still, well, you should still be resonating with the loss of the not reality, the emotions of that. So in theory, you're thinking, oh, this is really, but yeah, second watch is not quite the same. Let's have a look. What did Sassy say? Ah, Sassy, okay. I also didn't like the fact that Batel only gave Pike that inner light life because she needed a power-up to defeat the demon, to wit. Where's the comeback on that? And then Hypno says, did she say that? It was too much of a shock cut, but the best part should be at the end. She wants to visit him while he's in mourning. So I don't think it was that literal. She didn't know that was the case, nor was it that cynical. She already loved him that much, right? So I you could probably extrapolate that, but I certainly wouldn't take that as she actively used him in that regard. She really loved him that much, and given that, like, it's tricky because are we to genuinely take those inner light scenes as actually living those days? Meaning they left the house, they went to places, they did things, they got groceries, they had missions, they saved the galaxy, they got injured, they came back. A fully fleshed out 70 years, right? In which case you have to invent everything, including bad things, right? Including twists and turns and whatever, including wars and TMP happened. Like, she doesn't know the future, well, right? Or does she invent a Starfleet that continues but doesn't evolve, right? All those semblances, or is it just a as we saw a quick fire of moments that she got to experience so that she saw how they were, right? Because if it's the latter, then it's not powering up so much as just being experience a few key things of the life that she wanted. You know, that's, you know, it's up to interpretation, of course, but it's a bit daft to think that she could do it all, obviously. And that's why I relay my biggest missed opportunities, which I always tend to say, is that if she is also sort of non-temporal at that point, then you could argue that she would be able to look into the future and, you know, have the correct information of what happens, so that they're able to base her fiction on. So I really wish she'd been in a TOS uniform, Mr. Pike, right? Because there'd be TOS uniforms around, well, most of those scenes. So they're in, like, they don't often get opportunities to do TOS. You just make a replica, put him in it, and bam, you've got a really lovely, wow, he's in TOS, kind of like the last episode of season 1, where he's in a not so great Wrath of Khan as well. So that would have been great, and I'm kind of, you know, a little bit unhappy they didn't do that. Yeah, but hey ho, if she's not really seeing into the future, she would not know that they change, of course, but that would have been really, really cool. Did you get Pelly's Doctor Who reference? I mean, yes, but I also don't care, in the sense of it's not a proper, like, that's not really Doctor Who, so therefore it doesn't really matter. She's just, I don't know, it's a slightly factious, you know, that is just a thing someone thought to say versus an actual true thing. Yeah. Yeah. Tricky to say. Let's see. Donnie loves it as ever. 9 out of 10. New life forms and civilizations. The season 3 file. 8 for all season 3. Oh, you hated the all season because 8's very low for you. Russell, I thought phases run off main power, so from the core. Yes, but you can't pump all the power of the core through the phases. You can only do so much. As a limit, most of the power warp core wise would go into warp coils. Like, the warp cores generate far more power than the phasers do, because they have to sustain a warp bubble which bends and folds space. That's far more intense use of power. If Pike had lived a full life, why did he need to go to the fifth planet? Oh, easy, Grant, because he had lived a full life, which meant he knew what it was like to live a good life. And so when he felt and saw his loss in K Menagerie, etc., he doubly doesn't want to just be sat in a chair and die that way. So knowing that Vina was there as an option, giving another chance at something else, I mean, he would of course go for it, versus a man who might have been so hardened by the future that he gives in, is sad, and then willingly just dies in a few years after. So I could see it being, you know, more tangible. Yeah, it just in theory it should affect him quite severely for season 4, that he's now lived a full life and he's been shown a precedent that fate can't be changed, which means he will be more certain of not dying. It's the whole thing. Yeah. The inner light scene was still too much of a shock out. They needed some type of transition into it. At least we thought we internet skipped ahead. Yeah, they needed definitely a fake out of her doing energy weapon beam pulse winning, and then him saying let's go home, but that would have been felt dissatisfying as well. Like, it works better as a hard cut, because then you're thinking what, but I mean I knew it was fake from the second, because it would have to be, right, structurally. So it wasn't a really good fake out, but it, you know, had to be some. General Grievous, £2, thanks so much. Like the Doctor Who family of blood. Fobwatch Vision. Yeah, okay. Love Pelea's Doctor Who reference, her being off, she was taking a quick trip with the Doctor. Yeah, but it's not the Doctor, right? It's a different universe, different timeline. remember in Doctor Who we see the Earth of the future and the blah blah, and they would have mentioned Starfleet and blah. So it's just her saying something. I know it's fun, but it's as it's not really a Doctor Who reference. It's a Doctor Who reference, right? And I say literally, they did show a TARDIS as a CG extra in the previous episode. If they literally show it, then fine. But that's mad brand connecting. They brought in some references to the next show, Academy. What do you mean lesser logic? Because they mentioned his Academy, which we knew based on Menagerie. So I don't think they're anything besides that. Ah, Scottish Nightmare. Yes, the effects of the hands were definitely very regenerate-y, which of course the Doctor Who transition where, well, in the old show was various things, but the new show is their hands flare than fire. And yeah, it was definitely Doctor Who-y in that regard, for sure. Marcus, no, she wasn't. Yes, Solaris, The Long Haul, £2. Okay, what's next? Well, working on fan films as ever. I try and launch a mini crowdfunder tomorrow on, yeah, if anyone wants to support my next mini crowdfunder for Trek fan films, we're doing one to support a Star Trek meets Stargate crossover, focused on Enterprise D, and the beautiful CG models we have, the interior and exterior. That should be going up tomorrow. Check the Facebooks and the Twitter and the YouTube for that on the Trek shorts if you want to support. If you don't get the goal, fair enough, we won't do it at least this year, but we want to do the film. So if you can help us out, please do. Sasaguru once again, €5. Thank you so much. Maybe in a light scene should have been an induced delusion caused by the demon leading cliffhanger season 4. Ooh, yeah. Well, that would have been fun, yeah, if it started positive and then ended up being corrupted by the powers, and then ending on, because I was totally expecting him to get burned and something after that to happen. Yeah, that would be interesting. But they would have removed the sweetness of it, of course, if it had gone dark. It's interesting. Yeah, and I was not a fan of the very, not quick or rushed, but very, and here we are, done, of the we all know evil, maybe this is the first initiator of evil. It's like, oh, I don't think I'm willing to say these creatures are the original embodiment of evil that different alien races fought in the eons ago and created genetic memory to fight. No, that's too much. That's a little bit silly. I mean, it is as silly as progenitors from TNG, seen life in our galaxy, but that was a really well paced episode, and it felt like a big twist at the end. This was not that. So it all depends how you play it, but I don't know, did that work for you guys? Well, 58 of you watching. I'll finish out the poll in a second. The official poll with 114 votes. I'd like to get 115. One more. So if you haven't voted in the poll, do vote right now. Vote now. 115, 3 hours ago. I'd love to get that so I can then read out the thing. Let's get to the 115. Oh, still 114. Come on, guys. 115. We'd love to see it. Yeah, Dave. Having seen that, he imagined the baddies were par wraiths, but not due to money licensing. I mean, they own most of the stuff. I'd be very surprised if by DS9 season, when they first talked about 2 or 3, that they were then owned by someone else. I'd be shocked. I'd be generally shocked. So par wraiths would be more interesting, but then you have the weird chronological issue with the future stuff. Or at the very least, it would have been nice to have had them, Baddie Man, talk about how they fought other creatures back in the past, like the pup. Would have been kind of fun. But we'll stick with 114 votes if you're not going to vote in the poll. I asked, what do you think of this episode? The last episode of the season, and this poll went everywhere. It moved around. The winner with a some slight margin, with 34%, so literally just over a third. Okay. It was okay. Second winner, 28%, so just over a fourth. Loved it. Okay. Third place, very near fourth place, with 19, 18% respectively. Liked it and did not like it. So overall, 20, 30, 60, 70. So like 80% of you liked it. Or thought it was okay. So 80% positive. That was really interesting. Dave, guesses royalty payments to writers. Sometimes it depends. That's not the case in all media. In TOS and old days, yes, but maybe not the 90s, because that became a problem for other things in later Trek, by TOS people owning old rights. So I'd imagine you'd sign that over very, very specifically. That's why, you know, it's, yeah. All right, let's do a new poll then. Hey, Raj, good to see you. Glad you can make it here. Okay, let's do a new poll. Was no was the tell thing okay, so this is an overall question, right? Overall. Okay, no middle ground. Vote yes or no, even if it's 51%. Vote now. Yeah, John, no, so much for her new job. Which is a shame, because, you know, she worked her whole life for that career. And now she's working as a statue. Sure. But vote in the poll. I would like to see. What do you guys think? I would like to know. The poll is, was the Patel superpower story and ending satisfying / compelling overall? Vote now. So far, vote now. And again, like I said, 50% overall, right? So if you're 51% no, vote no, etc. But it's funny because obviously me and Stuart watch all these episodes with the techie mindset, the sci-fi mindset, the Star Trek mindset, right? So we look for the canon, the logic, the fun, the science, whatever. So when you don't connect the universe specifically, it's harder to parallel. But then, oh god, you guys are distracting. What? Dave, I wonder how much this episode cost, CG, etc., compared to an episode of Prodigy, Low Decks. I know what I prefer. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's going to be what 1.2 million an episode minimum, and I think Prodigy was like 300,000 or something. 400 or 600. It was a lot less. You do various episodes, but of course Prodigy is different because a lot of the stuff reuse assets. So if they did bottle shows, the assets are built. For bottle shows, you still got to pay all the actors to go on set, and voiceover actors are cheaper. They're a very different scale of what you can do. For example, if you did giant set piece animated episodes, it'd be longer and more expensive, or sets that kept changing, etc. So it's bit of a variable question. A variable question indeed. But vote in the poll. We're interested to see what you guys' results are. Let's check the PayPal. Nope, no on PayPal, but that's okay. If you can, please do. If you can't, do not worry. But if you guys want to prompt me, as you've been doing, for bits that you do or don't like or agree with the episode, because I mean I did like it, but I think I liked it a lot more from the inner light sort of power to that. You know, it was sweet and it was sad, and it was, it hit me in all the right ways. I just wish there was more sets. I wish there was more uniform variants, as in TOS, etc., or TMP. I mean, they could have gone full horse, right? I mean, what, they're in their 40s, so if Kirk is in his 50s by Wrath of Khan, then of course, yeah. So that would have been, that would have been exceptional if they could have every scene literally upped their uniform style. So they were in Stranger Worlds, then TOS, then TMP, then Wrath of Khan. Oh, that'd have been such a great way of ending. So Patel ends before she's too aged in a Wrath of Khan. I mean, it would be more expensive to build uniforms. Oh, that would have been so great. That would have been so great to just when the kids are coming home from to get married, they're in full Monster Maroon. It wouldn't make sense in terms of the being at home, but you could have rewritten it very easily. That would have been so great. That would have been so great. A lot of tributes to wear, clothes. Foundation was better. Great. I have not seen Foundation, but I'm glad you guys like it. In Trek, I'm not a big fan of magical, special human things. I want science. Well, they did give you science. It just wasn't great. They did try, though. Just wasn't great. Pike's daughter and April Sun Pike's daughter and April Sun being a couple. If they had a kid, that's some proper entourage. Yeah, that was sad as well. I like they introduced a kid element, what they would have done, what they could have done, etc. I felt a bit Daystrom was nice, and the sun was nice, but it's all fictitious. So we can't. I hope Memory Alpha doesn't take it as that's April's kid. It's like, well, no, in that fake reality, kind of like in Future Imperfect, right? Like, there's a Ferengian Starfleet. Well, no, there isn't. They're just in that version of that fake reality, so you can't take that. Yes, Hypno. They got away with it because they threw in a line saying, this tech is so advanced it seems like magic. Yeah, okay, that confused me as well, because the portal on the planet, when the baddie got there, it looked a certain way. He tried to access it, and it reconfigured itself with some of Joseph's memories, kind of. And it reconfigured to only allow him and the bad guy to go through. Because of why. But then why would just putting energy... Oh, bye, Donnie. Well, good to see you for a few minutes. Why would the portal override itself? Like, why would just flooding it with power turn off its safeties and its locks? And also, why would it link to the same place they just went? It's an interdimensional portal, right? Why would its default be to go to its last location? I don't know, it could be. But why would it be? I don't know. I don't know. It confuses me. Hmm. See what I mean? I don't know. Oh, I'm glad Hit may resonate with them. Stranger World should take some of that big FX budget and hire better writers and producers. Well, it hasn't got a very big FX budget. I know for a fact their budget got cut between seasons, so it's actually a lower. And you can tell in the episode, they look great, but there's less of them, effects-wise. They're a lot more restrained than they used to be. So they've not got a huge budget. Hypno. I've heard a lot of criticism about Stranger Worlds being ableist regarding Pike. It's interesting to hear Battelle say she could have had a different life even in chair. What do you mean ableist regarding Pike? Who said anything about that? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. I've not heard anything about that particularly, and I do this for a living. I liked that she said she would stay by him. He talked about being a burden, and she did the right thing. That I liked. Yeah, I mean, but it's tricky because now with this season in particular, right? Stranger Worlds has shown these amazing genetic fixes. So it's hard quite to picture the Stranger Worlds logic of him being chairbound with yes or no when you've got all this massive genetic modification stuff, right? Something. It's kind of hard to believe there. So I could imagine that if there's a different show, a different universe, if you know the chair was coming, then and this was also a different season where Battelle was solved it, went there, he became injured, and then you'd find some sort of magical cure to save him because I mean radiation burns are absolutely horrendous, but she had a gorn in her back that was growing and about to burst out. That's pretty rewriting her DNA as well. So they fixed that relatively straightforwardly, not easily, but straightforwardly. So you know, yeah. Stranger Worlds is the best of the newer Trek, but still far behind Enterprise, Voyager, etc. Now, I assume, Caro, you mean of the live action? Because I would certainly say Prodigy and Lower Decks were better overall shows. They were obviously fully 100% canon, because they're visual canon, story canon. They had bigger character arcs overall. They had more interesting characters. Did a lot more with them, more sci-fi, more episodes as well. So those are definitely better new Treks, but certainly live action is the strongest live action for sure, although it's getting sillier and it's losing its heart. Yeah. Hypno. Yes, there are plenty of criticism that Pike in the beep chair is a fate worse than death. Sorry, is the criticism that it is a fate worse than death, or that criticism that because it's not a good thing to be, right? And he's hating his life in Menagerie. I'm confused. What's the argument in particular? What are you referring to? People saying, because they said it's a life he's living, being a chair, saying yes or no, and he never moves. So he probably isn't eating or drinking. He's just being fed via, tubes or some such. Oh, let's me a picture. So Stuart has some pictures at his convention. I'm sure you wouldn't mind me sharing. He, our wonderful captain, we do love him so, is currently here doing this. Moving in the captain's chair and setting all up, and they have a very fun. Poor person. But do tune into his first reaction live later tonight. I have no idea what he's going to say. So I'm interested very much so. Matthew DeFridas. Hi, Matthew. Episode was good, but I frankly didn't really care about Battelle. Cool story, but it would have been cooler if it was a main bridge character that shows us why they're gone and why Sulu arrives. Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I know what you mean, but we can't do the bridge crew because obviously none of them can be, you know, none of them can be. None of them can be killed. And Patel was there from episode 1, and she was one of the, not core, but she was definitely the emotional centers of the show, right? She was given more development than Hema and than Ahura for some point. You know, so I think of all the characters, she definitely has that big chunk of Gur to die. Well, it didn't die, of course, but you know, transcended, different plane of existence, whatever. But you couldn't do it with anybody except Arn or Ortigas or Mitchell, but that would have no impact. Ortigas has not had enough to really vibe, and Arn wouldn't fit her arc, so that doesn't really work either. Yes, a black action. Cool. Thank you for clarifying, Carol. Appreciate it. Let's see. SW1 Noir, S1 Noir. I just watched the episode. It tried to hit hard emotional things, but things happening were weirdly vague and I underexplained, and Pike was just standing around confused in every scene. Hey, question to you all, and please do answer me in the chat. Question to you all, right? The end of the episode, Pike is on a planet a very, very long way away. Presumably days or weeks, at least days, if not weeks at warp, right? Long, long way away. And they say in the episode that the portal has been activated to send 2 people at a time through, and in fact that's carried over several times that plot. They even say that in the episode. Well, okay, and Benga's okay, no, that's fine, and Benga's alive. He wakes him up and they go through together. Okay, phew. Because I was wondering the whole episode thinking, and now he's back on the planet. But how did he get back? That's starving to death. Okay. But Benga's so barely that they really need a scene where he walks up to him and says, "You'll be alright, Doctor." What happened? Oh, that's close. It's Sasaguru 10 euros. Thanks so much. You are absolutely rocking today. Lodex and Prodigy had heart. You could tell that their creators had vision, intent, and respect and love for the source material. I'm not getting that from Stranger Worlds. Well, they have a heart, because look how many characters are likable, interesting, I mean, love interests. They've definitely got a heart, just different sort of heart. Vision is tricky because it's all existing characters. That's difficult. And love source material, they certainly they love some of it. But yes, they're too prone to change things for the sake of it. Yeah. Dave, I thought Mbenga was dead in the chamber. No, he's in TOS. He's, again, that classic, well, he can't die, can he? Hypno. Sam, the criticism is that being in a wheelchair is not a face worse than death, that people with disabilities can lead fulfilling lives regardless of what tools we use. Yes, but he's not just in a wheelchair. He's so, I mean, he's a Stephen Hawking, but without the great intelligence of Stephen Hawking. Could Stephen Hawking eat? I don't know. But he's so unable to do, and literally he's just in a mind prison who can then say yes or no. That's all his brain can process through. So, you know, you imagine how frustrating and sad that would be. And he's a very brave man, Pike, to want to stay alive in that form, because what can you do, right? So it's, you know, it's not worse than death, but it's pretty horrendous, right? I mean, you know, and it'd be weird if they glorified it and made it sound like he was, you know, a great time, because in 2S he doesn't. We see it. He's happy to be out, kind of, with footage, whatever. Yeah. Don't know. Would I want to be Pike or dead? Don't know. Can't know until you get there. Let's have a look. Method to Fridas, once again, feels like they wrote themselves into a corner with Patel being gorned, and they knew Pike had to go to the chair eventually, and he has no Patel. Yeah, there's definitely felt like there was a course with the Gordian, as they made a last minute sort of not clutching at straws, but clutching at the air to try and, oh, they'll do that instead. It wasn't quite as structured as just a straight Gorn plot. Do you need the straight Gorn plot? No. It does luckily improve the previous episode and at the place, because She's not a Gorn attacking. She's just feral life. It's a bit more nuanced now, which is good, but still daft. Let's see. I don't mind having silly episodes. In fact, I embrace it, but it does feel like it's running out of steam, and that's sad. This last episode required too much disbelief. I think that's interesting. I do think that's interesting. Running out of steam. It's Lower Decks sort of felt similar when you peak so early, and then it's like Marvel had a similar thing, but they had stepping stones that had very distinctly structured next points, or DS9, right? It was not planned, but it ended up being luckily that there's sort of points of progression that escalate, but not literally. You know, they have a war, another plot, and then another one, another plot, but it's all evolutionary, right? The bigger Gorn threat then done, and then this whatever called threat then gone. It's not all quite it doesn't, and it'd be hard to believe that you could argue the show has an actual like 5-year character plan. It does feel a little bit too much as they go, which is most shows are, but it doesn't really. Yeah, tricky for sure. And again, with the massive eye torture and the lame "We will be friends, Mrs. Spock." Yeah, what do you guys think of the eye torture? I was kind of impressed actually by that scene. It works less well the second time because, you know, he's not really in the story enough to be meaningful, not really. But I thought it was a really interesting and you know, graphic but in an appropriate way of, yeah, the death of his host and the eye torture led the creature to make that part of his ritual. He felt oddly poetic and sad, and to see that he made people do it. Yeah, I thought that was quite dramatic, and I really liked that simple visual of the streaks as the painting of the new god thing. But that's the problem. The first third, when they set up, he's come to the planet, he's now a god, and you'd think, I mean, why? They can walk around the planet without anything, and then but if he's a god, he'd have control and he'd have safeguards in place. I know he's trying to get to the alien world first with Mbenga. It doesn't matter, but then you'd think he'd still do some seize them and look for, you know, this is a sketch of Mbenga. It ain't hard to do. It was interesting that he had recombobulated himself, and he went to a planet and he restarted a whole new version of the god cult that had eye torture, and they were going to be obviously the very follow his commands, you know, adjective applied there. That's interesting, right? But then it's pretty much abandoned instantly. And then the most ridiculous line, it's the same afternoon. Pike and Patel beam down and say, well, without him, they'd have calmed down. Sorry, we just saw a scene of them brutalizing themselves, which is normally a hype up thing. What do you mean the thing is calming down? What? Okay. Weeks of 3 seasons. Yes. Probably. The thing about this show is that it benefits from growth. So the characters feel the most developed because they are in this season, which helps. But boy, no T'Pring. I mean, the T'Pring episodes are breath of fresh air for the show. The Lower Decks crossover was absolutely incredible. Last season, certainly, I think, was a better season. And that'll be another poll, I'm sure, later. Hypno. Sam, I wouldn't mind coming on to sometime to talk about a diversity discourse in Trek in the future. I had a bad feeling there's going to be some ableist stuff in Academy. Or incredible amounts of people with disabilities being in the show because they're probably more Discovery slanted. No. Anti-grav leg braces for people who can't walk. I don't know. I would assume it'd be something. But that's the thing, in the future, almost everything's cured. They're only the absolute extremes, and that's why Pike and Geordie, like, those people cannot be healed. You know, you'd fix things so early that most people are going to be healthy. That's why, what, in the 98th percentile, Trek officers should be thin and able-bodied, because that's modern medicine and modern food. There's no excuse to be overweight, like actually overweight at all. At the very least, you can get, go to doctors and have them give them a pill up your metabolism by 800%, and then you just whatever. Like if you've got Ozempic now that can do something amazing, dangerous but amazing, the ability to be amazing more in the future, then in the future there'd just be that easy. So it's hard to justify those things, especially if you've got to get through the academy or the rigorous stuff. So it's it's not the show for that necessarily. Or you go to Bedworth and then you can show whatever you want on Earth, like Daystrom. Great, whatever. Nathaniel, it could have also been the phases overloading locking mechanism, so how a number can go through. Not bad as an idea, but well, 2 pre-TOS phaser blasts is enough to overload an ultra ancient alien power portal. It's quite a lot of fire, but I could see it being more. And not bad, not bad. Kara, yeah, the phaser beam is hitting the portal we looked at a little bit earlier. There wasn't a right notice after a small delay. There's a left don't who are praying. Hypno, they have an actor with ALS, but it made him evil. It's a trope. Well, I mean, the actor was with them previously. I mean, it wasn't because he had ALS, nor was it he hired for those hard because he was a previous actor they liked. He got ill. They gave him a role he could do, and he was actually a sympathetic villain, so he wasn't really a villain. He was great in the role, so I wouldn't call that the same. I'd say I didn't think all people with that disease are evil. Doesn't connect at all. The way they shot Sam Kirk sitting down next to James Kirk at focus. Yeah, I thought there was going to be a. Oh, I thought it was going to be a bigger anything with Sam and James at the end, because that oddly felt a moment, right? That we had one in season 2 of them not getting on. Not to say they've improved that super much, but you had a nice, got a nice progression thing. Yeah, there's a lot of romance in this show. A lot of romance. You don't really realize that at some point. A lot of romance. Way more than you ever thought it would be. I talked to his graphic, I did the story. Yes, 100%. I just wish it didn't then leave the story. Really weirdly paced. I mean, they kept up and down in the pace. But let's finish the poll in fact, because we have 41 votes. I'm going to check that Stuart as well. Let's do the poll for Stuart. Let's do the first poll. Send him that as well. Earlier mixed bag. But yeah, guys, go and talk to Stuart about this later on this evening, because he's watched it. I've watched it, and I'd really be interested to see what he thinks and how you guys react to him. Would love to know. Okay, that's how we're saying. Yeah, Stanley's. I wonder when Captain Angel and the Cyborg storyline will continue. As somebody who has done a couple of fan films, Star Trek fan films, where the story isn't written to continue. By that I mean the universe is so broad you don't actually need necessarily a direct literal continuation. I don't need it by default to set up story and then pay it off later. That said, I want to see something with Cyborg again, especially now they've got Sam Kirk. We can have something with Cyborg and him and not break the canon of later Trek. And just see something to improve that movie would be nice. I'd be totally down for that. I said that before. I'm Captain Angel. I mean, they're okay, right? The story's good. Checking the PayPal. Oh, nothing on the PayPal. That's okay. Oh, there you go. Grant. Well, the 32nd century is a dark age. Everyone studies in dilithium, warp travel, and 21st century buildings. That'd be one hardware for Academy. Yeah, I don't know why they're not using Slipstream and all the stuff. Nick, this season was really hit and miss. It was definitely a lot less hit and a lot more muddled miss, right? It's weird. Like, what was everyone's favourite episode of the season? If you had to pick one, what would you say your favourite episode was? We obviously have technical numbers. I guess Trelano documentary for style. There was ones in between though. I mean, the one of the thing was the one in the prison was pretty good, but it had some big problems. Right, Betrayal was fun. Ah. I wonder where. Oh, was that? I didn't really get the mind meld thing. Holding without contact across ships. Yeah, has that ever been done before? That you can mind meld someone 2 miles apart in real time? What's holding that together? I mean, obviously it links to the stupid Burnham and what's Spock's dad's name? Sarek. Their connection over in Discovery episode 2, which is awful. But it was done in Enterprise. Oh, it's awful, right? That didn't work either. Not really, anyway. It's very difficult to make that make sense because that would give you such. You know, Spock's also half human, so all of his abilities are weaker. So why, therefore, did Tuvok never option that at any point in Voyager? Because that'd be real helpful. And there's no ill effects. They never expressed any ill effects. It's that easy. Just saying. S1, how was the audio mixing for you? The climax relied on the do you hear the knock of the door over and over? And to me it sounded like they forgot to include the sound effect. Was it just metaphorical? Oh no, every time knocks. Yeah. No, there's always a knock. It actually got slightly irritating the obviousness of it after a while. But no, always a knock. Oh. Ah, Sasuke, again with 5 years, you are on fire. Oh, great start. Another thing that bugged me, when they called the Farragut for help, why did they contact Kirk instead of the bloody captain? Captain was busy, having a sleep, in the shower, silent shower. Bigger issue is, why was Farragut also in a couple of hours distance, which means it'd have to be in the same sector again as a planet which they have, you know, Orion's doing dirty deals with, black market stuff. They kind of said, why is Farragut in like 4 hours the same 2 light years of that planet of all the planets? Happenstance, right? That means that Farragut and Enterprise are just circling the drain of these same star systems every episode. It makes no sense. You cannot warp places that quick. It is absurd. And why do they hire the lady to be the captain behind Kirk in one shot? Basically, it's very odd. Very odd. Kara, Sam, I hope you and Stuart will make a video of your hopes what Skydance will do going forward. See, that's tricky just because there's no precedent yet, right? The stuff we want to see physically, you know, like Star Trek Vegas 2, right? Seeing Vegas come back would be amazing, as in the experience. But
I feel like I was suffering a bit from.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? I'd
Yeah, but I don't know, because we can't guess without truly guessing. You know? But we'd like to see what they could do until they make some... Actually, how is Star Trek Scouts doing, view-wise? Scouts. Blaze the Monster Machine. That's such a weird... The trailer's at 60,000 views, episode 1 is 61, and episode 2 is 37, so at a significant... Gravity! So it's half down. Is it the same art style as every other episode? Yeah, it is. It's just a Trek version of it. Oh, so weird. So unbelievably weird. Yeah, I stuff I'd love to see, the stuff I could pitch doing. There's I could pitch them various things that would be cheap and cheerful and simple and straightforward and good for the brand. You know, as someone who makes Star Trek, right? I make a lot of Star Trek in various forms. Mystery, murder mystery one. Yeah. Jim, the My Mel thing was the only part I found interesting. Spock and Kirk tale was wonderful. Emotional nap wrangling at the Captain Pike was great. Don't know what that means. My Mel was, you know, it's fine. Like it's unprecedented power we've not seen before, right? Oh yeah, episode 9 was pretty good. Mind melding is an entanglement thing, so distance means nothing. What do you mean it's an entanglement thing? It's connecting two minds versus with using Spock's psycho powers, you know, telepathy powers, which are in all of Trek is weak with distance, right? You can't just, otherwise Spock's brain can physically cast itself across light years, which is just destroys credulity. Otherwise Vulcans can communicate across any distance, which is, you know, by that definition, obviously Tuvok was talking to his wife every other night because they've obviously connected in the way that Trip and T'Pol did. So why aren't they doing mind connection stuff like that? Whatever. No, it obviously lessons with distance that and I would not believe very strongly that even the distance between starships would be very successful. You know, it's just straining your brain, or it shows them really so weak that Spock, you know, because Kirk's doing nothing, right? Spock is actively forcing mind. I mean, you know, it's right. Episode 3 and 6 was first episode. Zombie Flick was not a strong one for us. Could create an army of remote-controlled Spock copies of Mind Meld. I'm not sure if that's possible. Glad to see the shipyards are efficient. That ship was fixed quickly. I mean, no idea how long's passed. Time doesn't really factor into this show. Yes, Michael. That I'm sure Stuart will mention that. He says was a perfect opportunity to fix the Farragut and make it a Constitution class, and they missed it. Yeah, that was surprising. That was surprising. That would have been an obvious thing. Hey, Phoebe, good to see. Especially as it was going to be a case of two ships' phasers. Well, Farragut would presumably have weaker phasers than Enterprise. But if it was a brand new Connie, then you get a really special moment of Kirk saying, "Hey, Captain Pike, good to see you. We need a ship Connie. Well, you're in luck. We just got upgraded refit to a new Constitution class variant. Oh, really? Yes. Well, that's great because we need to match firepower. Well, we can. Oh, good. Right. 2 coins inverted would have been cool too. Yep, it would have, 100%. How do you say? Yep, I think Legacy TOS was being introduced this season, considering we only have Bones and Sue left to introduce, and we have 2 more seasons. Yeah, but yes. I'm trying to think of something else there. Although Bones wouldn't be on the ship yet, so introduced minimally. But you know, yeah. Nathaniel, Shinzon, Star Trek Nemesis had distance with help. Well, Shinzon was using Riemann telepathy, and they're not Vulcans. They're not Romulans, they're Riemans. They are more telepathic than Romans or Riemans. And that was also only over a small distance, longer than this, of course. But that was also not matching minds. That was just entering her mind. But yeah, that was using a far more telepathic race, the Riemans. So that was sort of a plot point. They were more telepathic. What's the bait season 4? What's the bet? Oh, I'd love season 4 to feature Cyborg. It would be great. If he's done well. If he's done poorly, then no. If he's done well, then yes. Right, check the PayPal. Nothing on PayPal. That's okay. Oh, wow, you guys have kept me for almost 3 hours. 2 hours. Goodness. Well, well, no, been repaired, not refitted. But I asked the question, was the Patel superpower storyline and ending satisfying, compelling overall? No, at 71%. I would agree with that. With 29% yes. All right. Favorite parts of the episode: the acting on the inner light sequence, the inclusion of a daughter was nice. The fact they did address the plot hole of Sergeant Montgomery. Oh dear. Well, Sergeant Montgomery, put the PayPal in so you can then have more text. I'll read out the rant if you'd like. PayPal, whatever. I can do that. Will be great. And you can have to limit yourself to that. Cool. Other favorite parts. I like they did at least address how the creature got between planets, because I thought big plot hole. I liked. For the most part, I like Kirk's acting. Wouldn't say he was Kirk-like, just Paul Wesley Kirk-like, if that makes sense. I sort of like the Spock stuff with him, but it was mildly forced, but like I really like the lot on neck pinch scene. I thought that was really fun. You know, Spock's new girlfriend can do what his old girlfriend can't, and then what's his name? Nurse Chapel says, that's what we've been doing together. It's like, yes. In their time together, they do various things, and one of which is also teaching physical activity. Like nerve pinchers. It's like, yep, fair. Fair. What else I like? I'm going for like, right? Genuine without disclaimers too much. I like the God guy's costume and mask. That was good. He stripped out very quickly, but I liked his mask. His acting was fine. I did like seeing the other planet again, the prison planet. Oh god. But I mean, there's a minor things. There's not a lot of things I liked, right? Spock felt the death of 400 Vulcans on the Intrepid and TOS. Yes, but I assume that 400 times telepathy would potentially be something. Also, were they close? Also, what if they were trying to use their telepathy to try and send a distress signal, so they were kind of like out sending they've just thrown the whole hard science aspect of Trek out, and now it feels like Star Wars. Definitely more Star Warsy. Raj, do you mean Remans are more telepathic than Vulcans and Romans? Yes, that was, I believe, part of the storyline. I mean, neither Vulcans or Remans are particularly, like, obviously some, but not, like, super. Remember, the Romulans had to get the Enar to be using the drone in Enterprise because they weren't telepathic enough to use the circuitry, so they know the limitations, as it were. Stanley's, now I don't like non-Vulcan nerve pinching. So, Stanley's, I know what you mean, but La'an is a genetic super soldier with extra strength. So her strength is going to be very, very, very comparable to a Vulcan's. And she's also quite precise. So I would not like Chapel doing it. I'm absolutely fine with La'an doing it. It actually makes a lot of sense. She can. You know, Data can because in strong and precise. She can strong and precise. Absolutely. I think it works really well. Feed me. The episode would have been better if Superpowered Batel was able to bring Gamble back to life as a final act, and then her sacrifice would have been better effect. Yes, but he's been dead for what, 6 months, and that's his body, not his mind. You like, that's a reconstituted transporter pattern buffer copy of his body with a being in it. I know what you mean, but that would have been a bit weird. And can you imagine his reaction? Right, I've been brought back from the dead after twice being dead in a sense. Yeah, I've been right. Confusing. You know, like the nerve pinch. Good. Michael, maybe my meld just makes Kirk more Vulcan-like and precise. No, they were talking in unison. It was very much direct in that regard. But that's okay. Han, hey, good to see you. Sorry for coming in late. Yes, an hour and 42 minutes. Did we already discuss what was going on with Mbenga during his fight with the bad guy yet? His body seemingly taking damage in the same way as Super Patel. What do you mean? Now, do you mean Mbenga or do you mean Pike? Because he never shot Mbenga in the first chunk, and then the explosion from the door hurt him in the second chunk. So I don't know what you're referring to specifically. But it was weird that I was expecting them to have a moment when Pike gets shot by his Blair being whatever. I was expecting there to be a moment of, honestly, I don't know what you guys thought. Let me know what you guys thought. If Pike knows he can't die, at least theoretically knows he can't die, I was expecting Pike to come in and do something heroic to help save Patel, and then her end up doing the final act because he knows he can't die. So he can't shoot him enough to cause damage. I don't know. I thought right? I mean, he wasn't hurt, but he can't die potentially. Well, he can because time is blah, 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 blah. Wasn't Arch able to know the capture? Yes. Also confusing, but that's also magical mystic, which was ironic because Bones couldn't with his capture, although Surik's capture was powerful. Blah. Time is different for them, right? She could have resurrected Gamble as a parting gift. Again, yeah, I know what you mean, but yeah. Han wouldn't be surprised if La'an's closeness with Spock is why she can do it. She probably was taught how to do it properly. Yes, 100%. She would be keen to learn. He would be open to teaching, etc. Wasn't the thing in Enterprise that Romans were more emotionally and telepathy came from emotional side, not logical side? That telepathy came more from the emotional side. I mean, the same level of emotion, Vulcans and Romulans, that's sort of the point. It's just one chooses to keep it down, but they can still access it for things, just not, you know, they are actively suppressing it, and one let it out. So it's just under the surface, they're the same. Vulcans and Romulans are the same species, just generations of oppression versus generations of not. And Mbenga was wounded, and his wound glowed like a bright light. Okay, which scene? Because I don't remember him being wounded except in the explosion. Let me have a look. Well, guys, let me know your favourite things of the episode, because I want to know. As I've successfully filled out 2 hours, and thank you to the amazing chap that put in 100 at the start. That obviously makes all of the difference. And any final fives would be superb. 100% helps the channel. 100%. Alright, I'm on the scene, and Mbenga gets exploded. And he's no longer in a shot. So I don't know what scene you're referring to. Okay, then he's on the floor. But I see no glow. Yeah, I see no glow. That's okay. Weirder ways to come out from the dead. Yes, and who liked the mushroom death thing? Yes. Yeah, Nathaniel, I was thinking the same thing. Pike can get fatally wounded, so I was expecting more from him in the episode. Yes. It's just he said Remans are more telepathic than Oh, right. Sorry. Okay, I thought okay. Remans and Romulans. They've been killed by a space amoeba. I don't know how far away from Enterprise was. Okay, the space amoeba episode. Yeah, I mean, in Stranger Worlds logic, they'd be next door. In TOS logic, they'd be 2 weeks at warp, right? So, who is to say? SW, the final felt like they tried to do in Generations, with Pike having to snap out of alternate future, say the present, but similar to Generations, it kind of fell flat. Yeah, but she let him go, not even to him snap out, you know? Yeah, we did get a sweet goodbye. I've often thought about if they would introduce Jazz Rand. I have a theory. What if Arm becomes Jazz Rand, takes a new identity? No. Well, Jazz Rand, fair. I wouldn't mind seeing her. Ironically, then the light scene was probably my favourite, like the end too, where they showed everyone on the ship and Arn Spock meditating. Yes, that was cute. A restatement point damage is life energy, not physical damage. What does that mean? As in, what's life energy? But also, if he can't die, then being negative life energy wouldn't hurt his life energy because he needs life energy to live to do his next episode scene, so it shouldn't make a huge difference. Thought it was 11 days at warp. 11 days at warp from the 2 planets? No, it was 11 hours. 11 days would have been a huge... That would have had the Corby just sitting around for 11 days. No, it was 11 hours. If you're watching Voyager, sorry, it missed... Yeah, Voyager was a great show. It was a great show. Good sci-fi, good characters, great sets, good CG, amazing alien makeup, and a lot of family vibes. Great show. What do you think they should do for seasons 4 and 5? Well, 5 is really just a half season, so that's less. Season 4, I would do a Cyborg plotline where Spock has to go off with La'an for 2 episodes. Make kind of half of 2 episodes and deal with something Cyborg related. I would have Pike start to use his not dyingness and then realize the dark power that has and then say no to it. I would have more Scotty and Uhura bonding. Should be great. I would have number 1 do more meaningful things. Sorry. I would have Ortega's doing something big again. Something not pirate related. Maybe I'll do an Ortega's episode where the ship gets taken over by an alien and she has to die hard the ship. I think she'd be good for that. La'an, I would have an episode where she gets time copped again, but this time they move her into TNG era. Or into TOS itself, I mean, we've said many times, but one of the funnest things they could do would be to have, let's say, La'an be sent forward into Trials and Tribulations, but it's the Trials and Tribulations that is the DS9 Trials and Tribulations, and they meet Terry Farrell, who dyes her hair. She still looks very good for her age. Dyes her hair, puts on TOS uniform, a little bit of de-aging, not a lot, and then she gets to interact with the DS9 character inside the TOS episode, inside correct TOS sets to which they exist in Ticonderoga, and you get a 3rd sequel to the same story, 20 years later. It's transformations again, but a third time, and you can imagine how much better you could do the integration. I don't mean like that it pretty flawlessly back then, but how much more ambitious they could do. Or well, no, don't in theory you could do the same scenes again with the two new Spock and Kirk, and then do more scenes, but that would be weird, obviously. Although interesting, have the whole cast as like in the correct costume and sets and hair as the TOS versions would be interesting, although weird. It would definitely confuse the audience. Well, every audience. But guys, we're on our last few minutes. Can we get another $5? I mean, 5 will round us up. 15 will round us up to a great number. $15 would be absolutely tremendous. Or on PayPal, same thing. Would be. I mean, like I said, would be lovely. It'd be a really nice goal. $15 would be. Yeah. Scottish Nightmare. Yeah, you didn't care for her. No, ends up with Vina. Yes. Female, you can introduce Chekhov, Sulu, and Bones season 4 and 5. They just don't necessarily have to join the crew. Yes. Yeah, 100%. They can be in it while not being in it. And I would assume that we'll get some sort of Bones McCoy sequence where he goes off world, bumps into him. And then that'll be our big introduction to that, I would assume. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I assume it's something from them. I would assume. Would be good. Sulu, yeah, I mean, bumping into him on another ship would be fine. Would work just great. And going to Starfleet Academy would work, or something of the ilk, and seeing Chekhov. Yeah, would work for me as well. Any final super chats, thoughts, comments as we start to close out? Yeah, I mean, I think there's a poll, wasn't there? Oh, it crashed again. Oh, there wasn't. Okay, that's fine. I'll do a quick poll. Right, quick poll. 37 of you here vote. But Sasguru comes in, absolutely gets us to our goal. So thank you. You are a true boss. Sasguru, €10. I'd want a follow-up episode on Ortega's Gorn episode. Okay. Where she has to team up with a Gorn again, but this time Arn tags on, who is vehemently opposed to it, while Ortega is all for it. That reminds me of the episode of Voyager when the Doctor makes a Vidian friend who they then call later. Not literally, but that reminds me of a friend to an enemy. You know, Vidian's bad. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Yes, Femi, I want to see a Pike flashback episode where Pike is serving on Enterprise under April's command. Yeah, I'd like to see Captain April. That'd be cool. But guys, as I said at the start, all 43 of you, I've got a mini crowdfunder starting tomorrow for 2 weeks. This is for our Star Trek and Stargate crossover film that we would like to do, but as with the last one, which is the Stranger Worlds Voyager crossover, entirely up to you, the fans. We're going to have a goal, probably about £1,000, give or take, to try and make the film. And it is going to be about a Galaxy-class ship that's going to be attacked by the Goa'uld with some interesting shenanigans. I will say that interesting shenanigans in place. Pretty interested in what's going to happen. It's going to be a proper love fest on the Enterprise D Galaxy class. I've got various sets that I'm going to utilize. So, if you've seen my most recent few films, I'm doing a lot more interior work. So you're going to see a lot more sets, a lot more, a few shots here, a few shots there, really feel the sets. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. It'll be on GoFundMe again, which as our previous one. So I'm gonna post the link on the YouTube page. So if you can, even $5, right? 42 of you here, $5 each. I mean, everyone super chats. In theory, you could support. Anything goes towards the film, and we will make it. If we get our full goal, we can try and release it this year. But again, that's entirely up to you guys. We'd like to shoot it, I believe, in October. But I can start working on the CG depending before then. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, does anybody like that idea? I've done, if you've been keeping up with my films, I've done 2 other Stargate ones where the first one where Emma Thorne playing Laura Reed bumps into a mothership, but it's not piloted. Second film in the sort of lineage is Nimrin playing Healy, fights a mothership in a Defiant, kind of, as in she's partying, but they're fighting. This one is going to be it's not a direct continuation or anything, but we will see more than one ship, and we'll see more of fleet logic in mind. A real love letter to Stargate. So I think the fans out there deserve something. And hopefully some Stargate fans will come out and support us, because yeah, we really want to do these things for you guys to enjoy, and you know we're at the budget that they take in the real world, which we're very proud of. So do check out for that. It'll be on the Facebooks, the YouTubes, etc. I'll probably post on Trekyards as well. Only can make that with your support, guys. It would be absolutely tremendous if you can. Any closing thoughts? Any closing thoughts? Yeah, closing thoughts? Oh, yes. Final poll. 19 votes will end out on that. Was Stranger Worlds Season 3 the best season? No. 58%. Interesting. But yep, tune in for Stuart's first reaction live later this evening. I wonder if it's been scheduled or not. Might have been. Let's have a look. It is, yes, for 2 a.m. So in 3 hours from now. What a thumbnail. That's a good thumbnail. Yeah, so check out his first reaction. Support him if you can. And then watch our full review on Monday, when we might get more pissed off about it. We don't know. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the live. Thanks everyone for being here. Those that super chatted make a huge difference. Absolutely does. And our top fan is John, of course. Thank you, John. Appreciate you. Suskuru, very much you. And Threefold as well. So until you see Stuart later tonight, he was Captain Foley whenever he's here. I'm still Connor Coggins. Thank you all. And I've really enjoyed you guys' thoughts and conversation pieces. So thank you all. And I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.